future, shattered dreams, end of times ain't what it seems.
Hello, friends. This is Sam Chaney reporting for Weaponized News. Today's September 3rd, 2025. Thank you for joining us on this Wednesday edition of Weaponized News. What do we have today? Polish president goes to the White House. Got that. They're cranking up the rhetoric to go ahead and send the National Guard into Chicago, New Orleans. Things are coming to a head. I'm going to go over that. We've got some big news today, actually. They're going to hold illegal aliens now in Louisiana State Penitentiary, dubbed Louisiana Lockup. We'll cover those reports. Apparently, it's a full-on war on drugs again, forever, as we indiscriminately bomb supposed drug trafficking boats. Little Rubio says it'll happen again. So we just, whoever got drugs, we don't even know that will blow up all the evidence. They could easily go arrest them, but hey, whack them. What the hell? It's the president of peace, right? Trump there now, isn't he? So we got that. We got a lot of clips from excuse me. We got a lot of clips from the Epstein victims press conference today in Washington, D.C. We'll go over all of that, as the still no list, right? But the victims say they are going to compile a list, and they say Trump had nothing to do with it. And Trump once again reminds us that the whole Epstein affair is a Democrat hoax. What else do we got? We got big public health news. Florida is set to ban all miracle mandates. We'll go over that. And then a lot of genocide news as well today, as they're killing the hell out of people in Gaza, bombing southern Lebanon, and Aardvark Times reports that a classified IDF document purports Gideon's Chariots offensive against Hamas failed. So we'll go over that report. And then maybe, did I even put it in my reel here? Thought I did. We have this big report. I don't know if I can get to it today. I will try to. From China, policy paper, concept paper on global governance initiative. I think I will try very hard to get to that today, because we need to get to it and get it off my plate and get the info to you out there and spread it far and wide. By the way, I don't say it enough, but share. Please share. Like, follow, subscribe, share. We just broke 1,000 subscribers on Rumble, so shout out to you out there. It's been painstaking, to say the least, but we've surpassed 1,000 over there on Rumble. Thank you guys for tuning in. I do have the live feed from Rumble to post today. Ruckus could not join us. He has to work for a job that actually pays him money. I know. But hopefully he will join us on Friday. So I know he's telling me about how he has to eat. And I'm like, man, eating's overrated. But he had to eat. So he has to work for a job that actually pays him. So we do need your support. Probably don't ask for it enough. I mean, shoot, I do how many hours of content with no commercials, no begging? I probably need to start begging more, or go buy some of our products and probably get better products, I guess, that people want to buy. The whole sticker thing is just to support the cause, and you get some, I think they're cool stickers. A lot of people say these are very cool stickers, the logo anyway. But go to weaponizednews.com, get yourself some stickers, help support independent reporting and analysis. You can subscribe a multitude of ways. Paid subscriptions are very helpful for us through Substack. You can go through, I think, Rumble, or what's the other? I don't even know what the other thing is. Anyway, I forget. But they're trying to integrate everything here. So anyway, help support the cause, man. I'm giving you a lot of content. A lot, and I don't make any money on this. I'm losing money on this deal after I pay for all the bills behind it. You know what I mean? But someday, somehow, some way, we'll make it. As Trump said, you never give up, right? And it's 11 lessons of life from yesterday. Anyway, I think we should plug more and beg more here on Weaponized News. But thank you to everybody that has supported us. I think we just lost a supporter. Actually, I know we did because I got the email. So sadly there, we need to pick up the slack. I think, I don't know, what are we in September? I'll start a big fundraising campaign the next couple months, probably in October, because we got bills to pay for the next year, you know what I mean? Anyway, most shows are like every, 10, 15 minutes. It's a commercial break. You don't get that here at Weaponized News. You get our commercial break at the top of the hour. All right. What else do we have? I think I covered all the hooks. Let's get to this day in history and a lot more news for you. I just covered the big headlines there. On this day in history of September 3rd, going back to the year 1777, the flag of the United States flies in battle for the first time on Coach's Bridge, Delaware, during a skirmish in the American Revolutionary War. In 1783, on this day, the Treaty of Paris is signed in Paris, ending the American Revolutionary War between Great Britain and United States of America. I thought it was against Germany, huh? Yeah. You ever see those man on the street interviews? It's like scary if those people are serious and not trolling. I think some of them are serious, some of them are trolling, but man. On this day in 1812, the world's first factory to preserve food in tinned iron containers, Dawkin Hall and Gamble, opens in London, England, to supply food to the Royal Navy. In 1838, on this day, Frederick Douglass escapes from slavery disguised as a sailor. In 1918, on this day, 5 soldiers are hanged for alleged participation in the Houston riot, or Camp Logan riot. In all, 19 mutineers are executed. Back when they took treason a little bit more seriously in this country, wouldn't you say? On this day in 1964, Bobby Kennedy resigned as U.S. Attorney General. Also in 1964, the Wilderness Act was signed into law by LBJ. Fast forward a few years here to, I thought this was a strange one and crazy. On this day in 1967, Sweden switches to driving on the right-hand side of the road. how many accidents would that cause if just like overnight? I'm sure they probably tried to prepare or something. I don't know, but if they did that nowadays, there'd be wrecks everywhere. Here's a photograph of the traffic jam and mayhem. I thought this was interesting. You can see right there of yeah, the mayhem there by changing the side of the road that you drive on. On this day in 1995, eBay was founded. They totally destroyed it since, but at one time it was a great online marketplace. In 2020, on this day, Mackenzie Scott became the richest woman in the world officially. Philanthropist and ex-wife of Amazon CEO Jeff Bezos becomes the richest woman in the world, worth an estimated $68 billion. And since she's given much of it to eugenics and depopulation. So we do appreciate those efforts of philanthropy by Mackenzie Scott. Into our civil liberties on this day in history, slacker raids in New York round up an estimated 10,000 slacker raids during World War I, where a series of mass roundups of young men suspected of evading the draft. On this day, 10,000 young men were rounded up in New York City alone. The raids were conducted by members of the American Protective League and were marked by a total lack of due process. America, America. As men were seized on the street on the basis of no evidence other than someone's suspicion. The APL was a private organization of citizens that had been given quasi-law enforcement powers by the Justice Department with Woodrow Wilson's approval. In addition to the quasi-official organization, private vigilantes acting on their own perpetrated innumerable attacks on anti-war activists or people suspected of being pro-German. America, trust the government, go die in a foreign war. For the bankers, America. In 1950, on this day, into the quagmire, first U.S. military assistance group arrives in Vietnam. Scholars and others have debated the precise date of American military involvement when it began in Vietnam. The arrival of the first U.S. military assistance group on this day is a strong candidate all the way back to 1950, although some would argue that it began as early as 1945. We know it officially kicked off during the after the Gulf of Tonkin false flag hoax event that never happened. The Vietnam War created a number of civil liberty crises. You don't say. They include the lack of congressional declaration of war as required by the Constitution. America Constitution. Threats to freedom of the press in the Pentagon Papers case. Spying on the anti-war movement by the CIA. Threats to freedom of expression, for example, high school student protests, censorship of television programs, and directly and indirectly some of the events that led to the Watergate scandal and the resignation of President Richard Nixon. On this day in 1964, secret CIA funding of private foundations revealed, but no outrage follows. Why would you be outraged? You know what I mean? They're just running private, secret spy campaigns, violating every right in the Constitution that you thought you had. Who cares, right? America, wave your flag. It's for national security. An investigation of private foundations conducted by Representative Wright Patman, Democrat out of Texas, revealed on this day that the CIA had secretly funded private foundations. You don't say money laundering. Huh. Although reported in the New York Times and Washington Post, there was little public response and no outrage over this practice. Representative Patman had dropped his inquiry into the CIA after meeting privately with CIA officials. Did they threaten him? No big deal. Just money laundering, your tax money. It's probably their private drug money, so it's okay, right? And so that's on this days. What do we have a segue video here? I don't even know if we do. Did we have a segue video? I guess we don't. We're just going to go right to the news then. What did I do see Pamela Drew there, and she did let me read her comment from yesterday, talking about this Pamela Drew's comment on Substack from yesterday's show about they're poisoning the heck out of Hawaii some more. Not surprisingly. She says, what could go wrong with Google viral powers expanded to the natural world? Google is now directly targeting the Hawaiian Islands with their experimental lab-altered mosquitoes, seeking to register their, quote, debug Quinix males mosquitoes with the EPA under Section 3 of the Federal Insecticide, Fungicide, and Roticide Act. According to EPA documents, the original applicant for this registration was Very Life Sciences. This is a subsidiary of Google's parent company, Alphabet. Verily is the manufacturer of the mosquitoes currently being released in Maui and Kauai under EPA Section 18 emergency exemption. No exemption is given for the change of Section 3 applicants for Very or Google. Well, they're Google. I mean, they're basically the intelligence agency, you know what I mean? So, hey, whatever they do is perfectly fine. Poison us, attack us with GMO mosquitoes, do insane experiments on us with no informed consent. I mean, they're the experts, right? So that's a horrific story out of Hawaii. Thank you, Pamela, for that reporting. And then on to today. Well, yeah, Trump should win the Nobel Peace Prize, right? He's normalized executive drone strikes on the drug boat, piggybacking off of Obama, drone striking American citizens with no due process. But they're terrorists, so, what the hell? There's no evidence, and the government lies about everything they've ever said. But who cares? You could be next, but he's bombed Iran, Libya, Syria, Iraq, Somalia, Yemen. I don't know if Libya is official. We know he did, but they officially admit to Iraq, Syria, Iran, Somalia, and Yemen. I have to look up if they admit to Libya officially. We know unofficially. He's dropped more bombs in 8 months than Biden had in 4 years. Sounds like a peace prize to me. He has pushed to nationalize defense contractors and expanded U.S. force in the Caribbean. It's all for public safety in the war on crime. Are you pro-crime? That was a post by our friend Jason Bassler on the X. Okay, here's a post from the White House, some propaganda. Let's go over it a little bit and see how much they're really lying to us. Winning streak. record-breaking tariffs, border security, and safer cities. President Trump's America First agenda, but it's actually aardvark first, but whatever, you know what I mean, is delivering historic results at an unprecedented pace, from shattering tariff revenue records to securing the border and revitalizing our nation's capital. The Trump administration is proving that bold leadership gets results. Here are a few of the latest victories for the American people you may have missed. Tariff revenues set another record. Well, I got all kinds of money from that. I got my Doge stimulus check. I got my tariff stimulus. Oh, I got nothing but inflation. Oh, sorry. But they go on to continue to brag about it here. Trump continues to deliver on his promise to make America wealthy again through tariffs. In August, tariff revenue topped $31 billion, bringing the total to $158 billion this calendar year, and more than 2.5 times the revenue this time last year for the government. And we get inflation. So, yeah, good job there. Even the left-wing Congressional Budget Office, they always have to always do this, right? False left-right paradigm. It's the government, bud. But you keep everybody distracted with those crazy Democrat left-wingers, instead of people seeing what's right in front of their face, that it's the government. But the divide and conquer, red team, blue team, left, right, has Democrat, Republican has worked so well. Why broke it? Why fix it if it's not broken? Even the left-wing Congressional Budget Office admits President Trump's tariffs will reduce total deficits by $4 trillion over the next decade. The big, beautiful bill will increase the debt by an estimated $5 trillion. So there's that, but they don't talk about that much now, do they? New data shows President Trump's return to office worked. President Trump's order, the federal workers return to the office 5 days a week, is working. Axios reports, with federal employees now twice as likely to work in office as employees all over nationwide. In fact, the percentage of federal employees working in office increased nearly 30 points in the second quarter of the year. I know, God forbid, to have to go to work. Remember at one time when everything was shut down and they're doing all this remote working, it was like 6% and 4% were janitors and security guards. Remember all that reporting? I do. Quite shocking. I know, but God forbid they have to actually go to work. Major boost for local economies. Abolish the entire government. How about that idea? Reverse flow of immigration to the United States. More would-be illegal immigrants are turning around rather than making the perilous journey to the southern border, while the numbers of unaccompanied migrant children attempting to enter the country, often at the hands of criminal smugglers, has dramatically declined. In fact, northward migration from Central American countries is down 97% this year, while unaccompanied migrant crossings are down 93% over last year. After years of, again, Democrat, that's true, but it's the government. After years of Democrat-induced open borders making the U.S. a magnet for dangerous, unchecked migration, it's yet another sign that President Trump's unprecedented border security effort is working. You know what would really work is go arrest all of the people that were part of these unaccompanied minors that we can't account for. A bunch of people in NGOs, nonprofits, the government, they're all responsible. No one's ever held accountable. And yet you brag about this. I'll believe they're serious. And still no mass deportations as well. A whole lot of mass propaganda, though. DC mayors partners with Trump administration, as reported on yesterday. The government loves the police state, martial law, and they're going to play left, right, Democrat, Republican. At the end of the day, the government, all of them, these psychopaths, love the police state. And so here's a perfect example. DC mayor, big far left Democrat, or you could just say government puppet, Muriel Bowser announced a continued partnership with the Trump administration to make DC safe again. So what are they going to do? They're going to keep the troops on the streets permanently in DC? I don't know, man. As long as there's a black market for contraband, there will be crime, much of it created by the government through their prohibition of said contraband. That's just the economic fact. And we know the big dogs, the crime syndicate, known as the federal government, run all the contraband in the world. They're the top smugglers. Here's Trump meeting Polish President Karol Nawrocki. See if we can spot any a Masonic handshake with this guy.
Ready two, ready doors, ready pop, ready open. Ready close, ready shut, ready face, forward punch.
Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to tell. Kind of pulled him in there, jerked his arm a little bit. It's hard to tell with the hand what they're doing there. Is he like tickling his palm? Again, the gaudy meeting room here at the White House. We got enough gold there, Trump. You know what I mean? It's a bit over the top, wouldn't you say? Even gold chairs. Is this a Masonic handshake? I don't know. There's an over-the-top gold leaf everywhere. And Trump does love the flyovers. At another flyover here. And this very occult right here image. The old Washington Monument. A flyover for the Polish president there with F-16s and F-35 fighter jets. Don't be soft on crime. Trump slams soft on crime Democrats. Let's watch this clip.
This is the best issue of all. They are against preventing crime. They are fighting us. I want to go into Chicago, and I have this incompetent governor that doesn't want us. Do you know that this weekend 72 people were shot in Chicago? I'm embarrassed to say it in front of the president of Poland. 11 people were killed. 72 people were shot. Last week, 7 people were killed in Chicago, a place which is probably your number one place. I hate to say it.
Yeah, I love the balls in Chicago.
And we got to keep it safe. But 7 people were killed. The week before that, 5 people were killed, and 21 people were shot. This is in 3 weeks. So in 3 weeks, I lost almost 35 people were killed. It could have been stopped. If you look at Washington, D.C., 3 weeks ago, it was the same or worse. And now it's considered a totally safe zone.
DC is considered a totally safe zone now. Here's Trump talking about going into Chicago and New Orleans. And again, if crime's so bad it's necessary to declare a crime emergency, why is no one in the government there responsible for law and order held accountable? Arrest them along with the criminals? No? Yes.
Washington, D.C. is a totally safe city. You're not reporting any crime because there is none. They said crime is down 87%, and I said, no, it's not. It's down 100%. We have a great thing going. I could do that with Chicago. We could do that with New
Can you spit on the sidewalk or jaywalk? I guess not in D.C.
York. We could do it with Los Angeles. So we're making a determination now. Do we go to Chicago or do we go to a place like New Orleans where we have a great governor, Jeff Landry, who wants us to come in and straighten out a very nice section of this country that's become quite tough, quite bad. So we're going to be going to maybe Louisiana, and you have New Orleans, which has a crime problem. We'll straighten that out in about 2 weeks. It'll take us 2 weeks, easier than D.C., but we could straighten out Chicago.
2 weeks. 2 weeks to flatten the curve.
All they have to do is ask us to go into Chicago if we don't have the support of some of these politicians. But I'll tell you who is supporting us, the people of Chicago. And I sort of want them to let it be known they have incompetent people.
Incompetent? They're corrupt, just like him. So keep feeding us that line of BS.
Shootings will continue as long as this presidential administration continues to put politics over people.
That's a classic. The shootings will continue. Of course, that was the Chicago mayor. Make America safe again, the White House says. The government can't and won't keep you safe. Nearly 100,000 people died last year in violence-related deaths. The war is right here in America. That's the claim. Well, we need a crime emergency. Chicago crime map. Here's the Chicago crime map published by the White House. Past 2 weeks. Everything's 2 weeks. It's pretty bad, right? Go arrest the corrupt politicians there. How about start with that and work your way down? Homicides, sexual assaults, robberies, aggravated assault, aggravated battery. Yeah, go start arresting corrupt police and politicians there in Chicago. They won't. They won't. As they continue to, now he's saying, oh, maybe New Orleans. He knows he can't go and send the National Guard into Chicago if not invited by the, I guess he could do anything he wants, but it's gonna be illegal and without being invited in by the governor. I guess if he declares an emergency, that's the thing, right? Just, it's an emergency and you do anything you want. Violate everyone's rights, and then tell them you saved them as you bash their head in with a police baton and say, stop resisting. That's this, the thumbnail here. Let me show the thumbnail for today's show. For those that didn't see it, here's our thumbnail. And so, yeah, even though the guy that threw the sandwich got off, assault a federal officer may cost you your freedom. Think before you resist. And the cops are beating the hell out of you saying, stop resisting, right? And so that's how it goes. But the guy that threw the former DOJ paralegal that threw the sandwich, he got off. He assaulted an officer. Remember, they made that a federal case for like a couple days. They tried to, and it's like, come on, man. But yeah, it is not wise, I would say, to attack the police. They will kill you and not even think twice about it. So it's probably not a wise move, you know? Louisiana lockup. And these are, the Louisiana State Penitentiary is for citizens, but now they're sharing space to take in criminal illegal aliens, they tell us. At least they're not building another FEMA camp. Let's watch a couple reports about this. Louisiana lockup.
I got a Fox News exclusive where a notorious maximum security prison in the state of Louisiana will also double down as an ICE detention facility to hold the worst of the worst. That's a quote. Brooke Taylor live with a preview of the soon-to-be announced Louisiana lockup in Angola, Louisiana. Good morning there, Brooke.
Hi, Bill. Yeah, we are right outside the notorious Angola prison here in Louisiana. A section of this prison is going to be turned into an ICE detention facility.
Is it notorious, really? They said it twice already in this report.
And it's going to be called Louisiana Lockup. Now, Fox is the first to report that 51 illegal migrants have already been moved here. Louisiana Lockup is going to hold up to 416 beds. The Department of Homeland Security says they've partnered with the state of Louisiana. They are using this unused section of the prison to detain and deport some of the worst illegal migrants. Now, Angola is the largest maximum.
See, they roll this propaganda. There's still no mass deportations. And yes, again, it's good that they're getting the extra criminal illegal aliens, the worst of the worst, as they say. But where's the mass deportations of the 20, 30, 40, 50 million, how many ever there are? The last number that what Vance said was 20 million. It's even more than that. Where's the mass deportations? There are none. There's propaganda about putting, what did they say, 43 or whatever? Louisiana lockup is going to hold 416 beds for the hardcore criminal illegal aliens. We're falling way short here. Let's hear from Ice Barbie about it. And you like their little sign. They are good at propaganda and press conferences, but not so good at actually implementing mass deportations, which is what we were promised. Here's Ice Barbie with a nice little Louisiana lockup Angola license plate sign.
And I are committed. We're committed to making America safe again, and that means arresting many criminal illegal aliens as possible and then making sure we're getting them off of our streets. We're bringing them to justice and we're making our communities safer. President Trump's One Big Beautiful Bill has provided the funding for tens of thousands of new detention facilities and beds across this country. That bill also funds the 287G program that helps us build law enforcement agreements with local communities and state leaderships. With the rate of arrests and deportations as high as it's been, we need all the help that we can get to increase our detention space. Louisiana is one of several states that is stepping up to help solve these problems, but they're doing it in an unprecedented way. We now have about 200 criminal illegal aliens who are scheduled to be detained here at this facility. The capacity will be up to 400, as Governor Landry specified earlier, and since Angola Prison is located on the grounds of the highest security prison in Louisiana, the citizens here have no need to worry about their safety. They will remain in this facility and people will be protected from these criminals.
It's not nearly enough. It's not nearly enough. Hiring bonus, up to $50,000 hiring bonus to sign up for ICE. ICE officers of the principal legal advisor is the federal government's most prestigious legal division, and you can be part of it. We're currently offering hiring bonuses up to $50,000, and you can earn a six-figure salary representing the federal government with ICE. Wow. This could represent the crime cartel there with justice being blind. Not a career, a calling. Back the blue, right? Trump, Department of Homeland Security, unconstitutional agency, shouldn't even exist, but America, MAGA. Trump's Department of Homeland Security secures deals with more than 900 police departments to help arrest criminal illegal aliens. And here, of course, back the blue. DHS announced a more than 600% increase in the agency's 287G agreements with local law enforcement across America. The agreements allow local police to seamlessly identify criminal illegal aliens in their jails and prisons and swiftly turn them over to ICE for arrest and deportation. But they're already arrested again. And I'm all for getting illegal aliens, but see, the issue is here, this will be turned on taxpaying citizens, you see, as they're building this monstrosity of a police state under the guise of deporting illegal aliens. You see, this is the problem. This is the problem. Continuing. Operation Hydra resulted in the seizure of approximately 316,440 kilograms of chemical precursors destined for a Sinaloa drug cartel operated front company in Mexico. Acting ICE Director Todd Lyons spoke about ICE's role in the most successful meth-related operation in the nation's history. So here's these barrels have the chemicals they use to make the methamphetamines, and they seized a whole lot of it there. That's competition, taking out their competition. Make no mistake about it. They did seize a lot of barrels of chemicals to make methamphetamines. That's a good thing. Secretary of State Little Marco Rubio says strikes on drug vessels will happen again. So, geez. Sorry about that. A couple of these channels are getting throttled badly on X, the free speech platform. Don't you know? Where we can't even play the freaking video. Here we go. We'll try it again. Not gonna happen. Oh man. Let me try one more time, and I'm just gonna play it, and it's the best we can do with this.
Drug boats. And we did that. And it doesn't work. Interdiction doesn't work because these drug cartels, what they do is they know they're going to lose, 2% of their cargo. They bake it into their economics. What will stop them is when you blow them up, when you get rid of them. The President of the United States is going to wage war on narco-terrorist organizations. This one was operating in international waters, headed towards the United States to flood our country with poison. And under President Trump, those days are over.
And it wasn't a one-off. Rubio says strikes like these will happen again.
Geez, they just announced a major escalation in the war on drugs. That kind of flew under the radar, didn't it? Alarm after FBI arrests U.S. Army veteran for what? Conspiracy? I thought there was no such thing. Over protest against ICE. Legal experts say charges against Afghanistan war veteran Bajan Mav'alwala II mark an escalation in the Trump administration's crackdown on First Amendment rights. But he's the peace president that just started another war, or is escalating the continuing war on drugs. The arrest of, this is a report out of The Guardian, the arrest of a U.S. Army veteran who protested against the Trump administration's immigration crackdown has raised alarms among legal experts and fellow veterans familiar with his service in Afghanistan. He survived a roadside bomb blast on a special operations mission in Afghanistan, was charged in July with what? Conspiracy to impede or injure officers after joining a demonstration against Federal Immigration and Customs, ICE, in Spokane, Washington. But I was told there's no such thing as conspiracy. But every other federal indictment charges someone with conspiracy. So there's that. And what the hell? Serve in Afghanistan, get blown up, and go to jail for your First Amendment. Sounds like America to me. A federal judge, this just came out a couple hours ago, a federal judge ruled that the Trump administration unlawfully terminated $2.2 billion in Harvard University research grants, blocking further funding cuts. Of course, that's going to go through the courts again. They're going to appeal it again. But how the hell does one federal judge, have the power to just, here's $2.2 billion, $1 billion funded already Harvard of your tax money. You know what I mean? But it's research grants to experiment on you, so might as well sign off on it. Are we really, the big beautiful bill, cut our taxes? We're all rich now, they tell us. But how's it looking in your area? Here's a map. This from Senate Republicans. They should abolish the individual income tax, especially taxation of your labor. They don't. They give us this jerk around. What do they do? Cut taxes on tips, overtime, and Social Security. Whoop-de freaking do. So here's a map. U.S. average. Well, thank you for not stealing as much from me, extortionist. You're wonderful. You know what I mean? That's literally where we're at here. You didn't break my leg. You only bruised it. You know what I mean? You only sprained it. You didn't fully break it. A compound fracture with a bone sticking out. It's just broken, and the bone's still under the skin. Here's where I am, Fresno County. Yeah, we're down there less than 2,000. Thank you very much for that. We do appreciate it in our agricultural community here. But you can see on the map here alleged tax savings due to the one big beautiful bill. Again, all these stories that we talk about, the links to them will be on Weaponized News Substack for further research by you, made available by me as part of the Weaponized News service here. Okay, where are we at? A little bit more on the economy. Let's hear about Trump talking about this is hackable animal. He says, and then we'll play the clip. Funny that he's talking about something that I learned about 25 years ago. Of course, he's laying the groundwork for universal basic income, digital currency. That's why he said a group of powerful men got together and decided how to hand out money. He's going to sell the, quote, age of abundance. So from Trump talking about the tariffs, how wonderful it all is.
Talked about how historic these tariffs have been, bringing in revenue, additional revenue for our country. You've also mentioned before they could possibly replace federal income tax.
Possible.
Do you think that
Someday it's possible. It used to be. So if you go back to 1913 is when they ended tariffs. We were the richest ever from 1850. It was all tariffs. We didn't have income taxes. From 1850 to 1913. In the 1887s, about 1887, they had the Great National Tariff Act. And it was a group of people that got together because our country was so rich, they didn't know what to do with the money. We had so much money, they didn't know what to do. It was a group of very prominent people that were set up to hand out money to everybody because we were the richest we ever were. Proportionately, we were in 1887, around that time, even in 1913, we ended them in 1913. How did that work out? And then we went to the income tax system, and then we had the Depression. And by the way, a lot of people try and say that, oh, tariffs with the Depression. No, they ended in 1913, and then we went to income tax, and then in 1929 you had the Depression. They did try and bring it back in 1931-32, but the Depression had long started, and this poor, beautiful nation was gone. It was gone. We suffered for 25 years. It took 25, 30 years to really recover from the Depression. And we don't ever want to see that happen again. The tariffs are vital to the success of this country. When I say I ended 7 wars.
You won't tell the damn truth. Engineered by the private central bank. The Great Depression. Why won't he say that? Because he knows damn well. Because he's a puppet of the private central bank, you see. All right. Where are we at here? We got a lot of clips of the Epstein press conference today, the victims press conference. Let's take the commercial break now. Everybody go to weaponizednews.com. Get yourself some stickers there. The holograph sticker, the white background sticker, and the clear sticker right there. Weaponizednews.com. Give us a subscription on Substack. Help us out. Help the cause. And here's a word from our sponsor. And we're back with the second half of the news for you.
Running a small business feeling overwhelmed by numbers and paperwork? Abazaba Enterprises has your back. Our expert business solutions include accounting, QuickBooks support, payroll, taxes, and top-notch consulting. Let us handle the details so you can focus on growing your business. Business Solutions Accounting, QuickBooks, Consulting, Payroll, Taxes. Call 559-577-9250. Call Abazaba Enterprises today at 559-577-9250 for stress-free solutions.
And welcome back to the second half of Weaponized News on this September 3rd, 2025, Wednesday edition. On to the Epstein victims press conference. Yesterday, the Epstein files were released, 33,000 plus. 33,000. But turns out that 97% were already released. So they continue the runaround, the circle jerk on this whole affair. I had the video. Okay, here we go.
And what you're telling us is you're going to release some of the files tonight. If I heard Mr. Garcia correctly, 97% of which is already out in public. So we get 3% that's new. I don't know what it's going to say. But I just don't understand what the big deal is. Why can't the administration just release the files? You could do the investigation, but just release all the files. Trump and the people he put in charge of the FBI and the DOJ promised that they would. And it's just kind of strange that they haven't done so yet. I mean, don't you think? I mean, we just want to know, what are they trying to hide? Why is this such a difficult thing for them to do?
Because they're all liars. Here's Trump again today. He reiterates that Epstein is a Democrat hoax.
You're implicated in these files, but many of your friends and donors may be, and he says that's why the Justice Department is redacting them and slow walking the release. Is the Justice Department protecting any friends or donors, sir? So this is a Democrat hoax that never ends. You know, it reminds me a little of the Kennedy situation. We gave him everything over and over again, more and more and more, and nobody's ever satisfied. From what I understand, I could check, but from what I understand, thousands of pages of documents have been given. But it's really a Democrat hoax because they're trying to get people to talk about something that's totally irrelevant to the success that we've had as a nation since I've been president. Even if you look at D.C. right now, D.C., it's a totally safe zone. It's called a safe zone. That's a term. It's a term of art. It's a safe zone because it's very safe. You can walk down the street now and nothing's going to happen. No crime, no murders, no nothing. Because we had a lot of problems with certain places, and we still do. All run by Democrats, or for the most part run by Democrats. So what they're trying to do with the Epstein hoax is get people to talk about that instead of speaking about the tremendous success, like ending 7 wars. Sure. I ended 7 wars. Nobody's going to talk about, because they're going to talk about the Epstein, whatever. Sir, I understand that we were subpoenaed to give files, and I understand we've given thousands of pages of files. And I know that no matter what you do, it's going to keep going. And I think it's enough, because I think we should talk about the greatness of our country and the success that we're having. I think we're probably having, according to what I read, even from 2 people in this room, we're having the most successful 8 months of any president ever. And that's what I want to talk about. That's what we should be talking about.
It's an Epstein hoax. It's case closed. According to the FBI, the DOJ, and Trump. Here are the victims. They're going to go ahead and make their own list, I guess. Let's go ahead to the clips. Here's Massey, him and Ro Khanna. Put it on there in DC, and we'll hear from MTG as well.
The Washington establishment is asking the American public to believe something that is not believable. They're asking you to believe that 2 individuals created hundreds of victims and they acted alone, and that the DOJ has no idea of who else might have been involved, that nobody else did anything that rose to a criminal enterprise. The American people know that's not true. Now, the Speaker of the House just offered a fig leaf to my colleagues. They're going to vote on a non-binding resolution today that does absolutely nothing. I appreciate the efforts of my colleague James Comer, who's leading the Oversight Committee. They may find some information, but they're allowing the DOJ to curate all of the information that the DOJ is giving them. If you've looked at the pages they've released so far, they're heavily redacted. Some pages are entirely redacted. And 97% of this is already in the public domain. So I'm calling on my colleagues, be one of the next two who sponsors this discharge petition. I think it's shameful that this has been called a hoax. Hopefully today we can clear that up. This is not a hoax. This is real. There are real survivors. There are real victims to this criminal enterprise. And the perpetrators are being protected because they're rich and powerful and political donors to the establishment here in Washington, D.C. So today we're standing with these survivors, and we're giving them a voice, and I want to close by thanking them. They are brave. I hope they encourage other survivors to come forward.
Yeah, we're not going to ever see Jack. Here's one of the victims, the survivors.
Question would be for the survivors, Mr. Edwards. The president has said that this Epstein issue is a hoax, is the words that he used. Can we get your reactions to what you think when you hear him say that?
Oh, I'll answer that. Mr. President Donald J. Trump, I am a registered Republican, not that that matters because this is not political. However, I cordially invite you to the Capitol to meet me in person so you can understand this is not a hoax. We are real human beings. This is real trauma.
What does it feel like emotionally to hear that?
Devastating.
It's being gutted from the inside out. Not that I would know what that feels like, but I imagine it's the anxiety buildup with the depression and the survival mode, and then your nervous system goes limp and ironically is shot, and it feels like you just want to explode inside because nobody, again, is understanding that this is a real situation. These women are real. We're here in person. To say that it's a hoax is just not... Please humanize us. I would like Donald J. Trump and every person in America and around the world to humanize us, to see us for who we are and to hear us for what we have to say. There is no hoax. The abuse was real. Now, what goes on behind closed doors, I can't speak for that. What happens around the world politically, I cannot speak for that. But I am here with all of these women, including our attorneys, and I would be more than happy to meet with him, and I will meet him halfway.
Nah, they're just all Democrat crisis actors, part of the hoax, right? Here's some more about it.
With Ghislaine Maxwell, and Jeffrey and Ghislaine were always very boastful about their friends, their famous or powerful friends, and his biggest brag forever was that he was very good friends with Donald Trump. He had an 8x10 framed picture of him on his desk with the two of them. Like, they were very close.
Go ahead.
On this personal attorney, survivors
Or what?
Excuse me.
With Ghislaine Maxwell, and
the real evidence is all of the blackmail material that Epstein had. We'll never see that. They did a military flyover during the Epstein press conference. Coincidence or conspiracy, part of the cover-up? Let's hear this. You can hear the flyover. That was just to honor the president of Poland, right?
I was horrified when I found out not only had Ghislaine Maxwell been transferred to what's called a low security. It's really is like a holiday camp. And then afterwards, I got a notification from the Department of Justice telling me that this was going to happen, when it had already happened. This woman abused children. I was abused by Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell for over 10 years. Ghislaine Maxwell was present for some of my abuse at the hand of Jeffrey Epstein. She was present, she was complicit, she was enabling, and it is appalling and disgusting. And it's one of my worst nightmares that she not only be transferred, but at the possibility that's very much going around that she might be pardoned. This is not okay, guys. This is not okay.
And I just want to add that I think it sends a very dangerous message to our country, to the young people in our country, that someone that we all know is aware of these crimes could be given a pass.
And just for the last survivor who just spoke, she said that Epstein would brag about her relationship with Donald Trump. Could you please elaborate about that?
Shut it.
The microphone. Get close.
Yeah, I did say that. My first trip to the Palm Beach residence, I drove there from the airport with Ghislaine Maxwell, and Jeffrey and Ghislaine were always very boastful about their friends.
Kind of hard to hear there with all the flyovers. Sure, that was just a coincidence. It's her old MTG. She's broken now with Trump on Aardvark land and this issue.
Morning. This is my 5th year in Congress, and this is the largest press conference that I've seen since I've been here. And this is because this is an issue that matters so much to Americans. This is an issue that doesn't have political boundaries. It's an issue that Republicans and Democrats should never fight about. As a matter of fact, it's such an important issue that it should bring us all together. It's grieved me to watch the arguments and debates take place among my colleagues and even the administration. I think this is something that was worth fighting for. You see, the women behind me are going to tell you stories that you've never heard before. These are unimaginable horrors that they've lived with for their entire lives since they were very, very young. But these are also similar stories that many children, teenagers, women, and even men are enduring nightmares right now as we speak. You see, these women have been fighting since the 1990s. I heard one woman tell us yesterday since 1996. And they have carried with them shame. But I want to tell you something. The shame does not fall on these brave, courageous women. The shame falls on every single person that coldly turned a blind eye to their abuse. The shame falls on every single person that enabled it. The shame falls on every single person that took money to continue it. And the shame falls on the people in power over the past several decades that protected the monster, Jeffrey Epstein, and his cabal that continued a nightmare. Those people deserve the shame. And today we are coming forward and we are going to fight like hell for these women, because we have to fight like hell for those that are enduring sexual abuse and are living in a prison of shame. Anyone that is being abused, it is not your fault. You should live with no guilt or fear or shame. All of the fault belongs to the evil people that do these things to the innocent. This is the most important fight we can wage here in Congress, is fighting for innocent people that never receive justice. And the women behind me have never received justice. And do you want to know why? It's because Jeffrey Epstein somehow was able to walk among the most rich, powerful people, not only in America, but foreign countries.
Yesterday, I heard countries like Saudi Arabia, Russia, and even Israel, and other countries. The truth needs to come out, and the government holds the truth. The cases that are sealed hold the truth. Jeffrey Epstein's estate holds the truth. The FBI, the DOJ, and the CIA holds the truth. And the truth we are demanding come out on behalf of these women, but also as a strong message to every innocent child, teenager, woman, and man that is being held captive in abuse. This should never happen in America, and it should never be a political issue that divides us. And I want to thank Ro Khanna and Thomas Massey for doing something brave, crossing political boundaries for a very important fight. And I'm honored to join both of them. And I'm honored that Nancy Mace and Lauren Boebert signed the discharge petition along with myself. And I asked my Republican colleagues not to choose just one path for justice and transparency and accountability, but I asked my Republican colleagues to choose every path for justice and accountability and transparency.
Yeah, we're never getting any of that evidence that you just talked about. Continuing here.
You have a choice. Stand with the truth, or with the lies that have protected predators for decades. I am no longer weak. I am no longer powerless. And I'm no longer alone. And with your vote, neither will the next generation be. President Trump, you have so much influence and power in this situation. Please use that influence and power to help us, because we need it now and this country needs it now. Thank you.
Really? He just said it was a hoax? More?
Worst part is that the government is still in possession right now of the documents and information about that could help me remember and get over all of this maybe and help me heal. They have documents with my name on them that were confiscated from Jeffrey Epstein's house and could help me put the pieces of my own life back together. But I don't have any of it. And I know the same is true for many of these women. We are here to support this bill today, not only for transparency, but for the American people. But if the government is going to release these documents to the public, describing the crimes committed by Jeffrey Epstein and others, the least that they can do is give me my documents that they have about me. The other survivors deserve the same respect from our government. While identifying information must be redacted to the public, it is equally important to provide the victims themselves with unredacted information. I will never forget when the FBI agent showed up in my door in 2008. Jeffrey Epstein hired a lawyer to represent me, or more like to represent him, I'd like to say. I couldn't ask any questions, and I had no idea what was going on. I was terrified. Until today, I think most of us are still terrified. I thought somebody was going to kill me. I thought something was going to happen to my sister or my mother. It went further out to even maybe thinking something would happen in Brazil with my family. And then one day, the lawyer said that everything was just gonna go away. Like nothing happened. I didn't need to testify. When I asked him why, he gave no explanation. That was it. So why? Why was I never called to testify then? We could have saved so many women. We could have saved so many lives from being abused. Why did he get away with it in 2008? Why was he able to go on in the abuse with hundreds of girls after the Florida investigation? Why didn't they let me testify to help stop him? Our government could have saved so many women, but Jeffrey Epstein was too important and those women didn't matter. Why? Well, we matter now. We are here today and we are speaking and we are not going to stop speaking.
Yeah, they're running, what was it, Zorro Ranch in New Mexico? They're running eugenics transhumanist experiments there with Bill Gates. Cloning, potentially. So, here's another one. Epstein survivor announces that survivors are creating their own list of Epstein-related abusers. The government has all of his blackmail files, you see.
And also, I would like to announce here today, us Epstein survivors have been discussing creating our own list. We know the names. Many of us were abused by them. Now together as survivors, we will confidentially compile the names we all know who were regularly in the Epstein world. And it will be done by survivors and for survivors. No one else is involved. Stay tuned for more details.
She didn't kill herself, right? Last one here, I think. Again, begging for Trump. They already, the DOJ, FBI, and Trump closed the case. Sorry to say.
You are a person who has chosen to serve in an elected position to stand up for those you represent who cannot always stand up for themselves. We are those people. We are the Americans that you promised to protect. And we need your help. Please, President Trump, pass this bill and help us. Make us feel like our voices are finally being heard. Thank you.
What about the tariffs that made us rich? Huh? Yep. Remember this? This is an all-time classic for the clownfluencers on the interwebs here. Talk about a bungled handling. It had to be on purpose, right? Has to be. But they did make a fool out of these clownfluencer people. Here's 33,000 plus documents. Oh, by the way, you already have 97% of them. And the other 3% are pages that are just blacked out. It's just the big wheel turned already. We're not getting jack, all right? Stop showing this. Sorry, Chloe, but it's like, man, they're literally spitting in our face. Where are we at now? Oh, we still got a lot more to cover. I think I got to hold off. I got to hold off on this till tomorrow. I will. I promise, because tomorrow we have a guest. A guy running for California governor over here. Zaki, last name. I forget his first name off the top of my head. But anyway, we'll interview him tomorrow for, I think, about a half hour. And we're definitely covering this. But I still have a lot more to get to. concept paper on the Global Governance Initiative from China. Important here, as they have pledged, they're fulfilling, they're on board with UN Agenda 2030. And so Trump, America first, hey, the one world government agenda, full speed ahead. On to public health news. Again, we will revisit that tomorrow. Lab-grown meat banned in Texas as of the 1st of this month. Sounds pretty good to me. Some believe the ban on lab-grown meat violates people's constitutional rights. They'll defend anything. You know what I mean? The Dallas Morning News. You eat the lab-grown meat. The sale of lab-grown meat has been banned in Texas for 2 years as part of Senate Bill 261. The law states that a person may not manufacture, process, possess, distribute, offer for sale, or sell cell-cultured protein. Well, that's as illegal as methamphetamine there. So, wow. Are cracking down on the lab-grown meat. Although its production and use were not widespread in the state, some believe its ban violates people's constitutional rights, impacting what consumers can and cannot purchase. That's a lame-ass argument. Well, let me purchase all that contraband that's illegal. It's against my constitutional right that I can't get at it. The EPA here, we reported on this yesterday. Here's Zeldin about this court ruling to terminate climate grant. And then we'll get to the big public health news about, well, they're banning the miracles there in Florida, or at least mandates of them.
That we've had at the Trump EPA has been that the grants were riddled with self-dealing and conflicts of interest, unqualified recipients, and reduced agency oversight. You just referenced in that quote from the majority's opinion, the gold bar video. This is something that came out in December while we were going through the transition process, where a Biden EPA employee was talking about how they're rushing to get billions of dollars out the door before President Trump gets inaugurated. And he was calling it that, like he says that they were tossing gold bars off the Titanic. The gold bars are tax dollars off the Titanic.
Again, why they were doing that? Why does no one get in trouble? They're literally stealing, and it's like, oh yeah, they just stole $1 billion. But have no fear, they're cleaning up public health, the CDC, with Jim O'Neill. I don't know why he's still operating. He's still operating under deputy secretary. I thought he was acting director of the CDC. So here's your acting director with direct links to Peter Thiel, technocracy, Jim O'Neill. I don't know why he still has deputy secretary. In his bio here, you can see he says acting director of the CDC. He says Americans have the right to control their health data and share it with their providers. Such sharing helps them navigate their care and improve their health. Unfortunately, some companies resist cooperating with patients' wishes. In 2020, HHS under President Trump finalized the Cures Act final rule prohibiting health information blocking. Today, Secretary Kennedy and I announced HHS's commitment to vigorous enforcement of this rule. Going forward, patients will have full access to their health data, supporting the Secretary's goal of making America healthy again. And of course, that data would never be hacked and used against you. We're still suffering from old Obamacare. And so we can trust Mr. Technocracy, Jim O'Neill here, as head of the CDC, right? here is television doctor, failed Senate candidate, Dr. Oz. About, oh my God, feign outrage about the miracles. You may have a choice there in Florida.
I want to ask you about this because there's a lot of discussion about the childhood vaccine schedule. And today there was an announcement in Florida that they will move to end all childhood vaccine mandates in the state. That came from Governor DeSantis this afternoon, and it's in conjunction with the state Surgeon General, Joseph Ladapo. What is your reaction to that, and do you agree with that? Would you recommend the same thing to your patients?
I would definitely not have mandates for vaccinations. This is a decision that a physician and a patient should be making together. The parents love their kids more than anybody else. I could love that kid, so why not let the parents play an active role in this? There are some states now where you're seeing an increase in homeschooling because parents are running from the healthcare system. They can't get healthcare because doctors are unwilling to take the risk of taking care of children who don't want vaccinations because it might impact the way their practices are run. They shouldn't feel pressure from the government to decide what to do with the vaccination schedule. They should do what's the best interest of the person in front of them, let's say it's a child, and what those parents desire. That's how the system is supposed to run. But
again, no one gets in trouble. Listen to Dr. Oz in this clip.
happen. Now let's go back and look at the CDC, because I'm almost offended by that accusation that the CDC was in a good place. We all lived through COVID. COVID was a warning shot in many ways, but it was a catastrophic failure for the CDC. We all lived through manufactured excuses around mask mandates and 6-foot distancing, which didn't make sense. More notoriously and nefariously, the closure of schools, which hurt kids in a profound way, was that document was actually authored in part by the teachers union. I mean, these are ridiculous accusations they've been making, except they happen to be true. And then you look at the fundamental reality that we have 4% of the world population and 19% of the deaths. Well, the CDC failed us. And without trust, you run into big problems. So Secretary Kennedy says, I need to revisit the fundamental first principles of this organization. How do we get the right people in leadership to make a difference so we can actually begin to improve the health of the American people, but also deal with the potential urgent crises of a pandemic coming back this way? And he's taking steps to make that happen. We do not have the luxury of weak-willed individuals. We need bold, decisive steps. That's what Secretary Kennedy's offering, and that's why President Trump wanted him in this position.
I remember saying that, and well, if what Dr. Oz says there is true, why does no one get in trouble in the government? And then the big news today, can we even report on it? DeSantis and Ladapo aim to make Florida first in U.S. to end all miracle mandates. I know, it's horrific. Now all of the children in Florida are going to, pass away. Here's a video of Ladapo making this announcement. And by the way, this guy should be head of the CDC or Surgeon General or something. I guess he's doing what he can there in Florida. A very bad loss for the state of California, where he's from. Should be the head of California State Health Department. God forbid. I know. We'll get to more of that in a minute.
Every last one of them is wrong and drips with disdain and slavery. Okay? Who am I as a government or anyone else, or who am I as a man standing here now to tell you what you should put in your body?
Pretty simple stuff, but you get banned on YouTube for stating basic human rights. Yeah. Okay, but back to California here. The LA Times reports the bat disease is still with us. Wave washes over California. Some officials urge residents to mask up. Well, hell yeah, it's worked. I mean, it has worked. We cured the bat problem. Huh? Yep. So we do heart failure here in California. California currently has high bat levels in sewage. They're dirty rat characters at the health department, aren't they? According to the CDC. And increases are being seen across California from LA County to San Francisco. The CDC estimates that the bat problem are either growing or likely growing in 30 states, including California. 21 states have either very high or high bat levels in wastewater. This is, oh man. They just can't give it up, can they? Strung out on bats. They just cannot give it up here now. Well, if all that's true, then all of their efforts have failed, right? No, just keep doing what the experts say. Trust the science. On to our aardvark news. Oh, and geopolitical, I didn't even pull up the articles. It's like back and forth. Putin says now he will meet. He's ready to meet with Zelensky, whatever that means, whatever we can take away from that. They're still killing the hell out of each other. Russia launched another giant attack. You know what I mean? And so it's horrific war still going on there in Russia, Ukraine. But I don't think Russia's not going to change their position on the stance that they want a legitimately elected president, prime minister, whatever the hell you call them, of Ukraine to sign peace deal, right? I don't think they're going to change on that. I guess they're going to. Now Putin today is saying he will meet with Zelensky, which is an improvement. They should meet, sign a peace deal with whoever the hell they recognize as the official authority and stop shooting each other, man. Is what needs to happen there. So that's what's happening there. Not a whole lot of nothing. As the war profiteers continue to profit handsomely off the death of the poor Russians and Ukrainians. On to Aardvark land. Surprisingly, Macron requested to visit Aardvark land, and Bibi, Shadow President of America, said the timing just isn't right. Right? As Mr. Sun King there, Macron out of France continues to try to play the good guy. He's for kill all the Russians you want, but hey, the Palestinians starving, it's too much for the European mind to take, apparently. And so he is pushing back. We will give him credit for that, pushing back on. But again, theater. They keep us in this loop. If you're serious, send in French troops. You know what I mean? That ain't gonna happen. Send in freaking NATO. That ain't gonna happen. The voice of Hindi Rajab stuns Venice. See, Aardvark land has lost, and we're in the midst of it. The world turning, the big wheel's turning. They've lost the propaganda war here now, propping up their genocide, and they're not putting the Hamas back in the bottle. And so at the, where was this at? Some film awards, Venice Film Festival. They may whack this, sanction her, and whack her. You know what I mean? They whacked one of the guys that won the Academy Award about the documentary about Gaza. So they'll whack anybody and everybody. Aardvark lands bombing the hell out of southern Lebanon with massive drone strikes. Ben Gvir, again. Ben Gvir exploits latest assassination plot to justify harsher abuse of Palestinian prisoners. After Aardvark lands Shin Bet announced that it allegedly foiled a Hamas plot to assassinate him. Well, I wonder why. He's constantly provoking some type of action. He literally wants this. If we can even believe any of it's true, he's literally calling for them to try to assassinate him. But what the hell? Hamas terrorist. To try to assassinate him with explosive drones. The Aardvark National Security Minister, Ben Gvir, vowed to double down on his hardline agenda. He declared he would escalate repressive policies inside Aardvark prisons, intensify the torture and abuse of Palestinian detainees, and push for total destruction of Gaza and the eradication of Hamas. Again. The IDF just said yesterday, you can't kill an idea. As they continue to say, anybody that's being honest, which is very far and few between, I realize here now, but an alleged assassination attempt. Did it even happen? Give me a freaking break. But then again, he is constantly provoking them. You know what I mean? So it's realistic. Don't be antiseptic. He's allowed to abuse anybody he wants, all right? Because he's Ben Gvir. Some Aardvark reservists say they'd rather go to jail than serve in the assault on Gaza City. So they're getting pushback. They're getting internal pushback. That's a headline out of old NBC. NBC here, talking about refusing to serve in the genocide there. And there has been increasing suicides in the IDF as they come to realize, those with a conscience, that they're carrying on the genocide there. This is an all-time classic Orwellian headline that we put up yesterday, but I liked it so much we'll put it up again. Aardvark's war for peace in Syria tests new leaders' hold on power. You see, you just don't understand, you damn Hamas terrorists. It's a war for peace. It's an all-time classic Orwellian headline out of Newsweek. Allegedly, according to Aardvark Times, let's go through this story. Classified IDF document purports Gideon's Chariots offensive against Hamas failed. Let's go to the report. A classified IDF document being circulated in the military concludes that Gideon's Chariots, the major offensive launched against Hamas in May, failed to meet its core objectives. Channel 12 reports. They didn't, genocide everybody. Publishing part of the document, the Hebrew Network says that it was distributed last week by the Operational Information Center of the Army's ground forces and has already been seen by several brigades. It states that the operation did not succeed in either of its goals to topple Hamas militarily or to free the hostages. While IDF Chief of Staff Zamir and other senior officials have publicly praised the operation, the internal assessment bluntly states that Aardvark Land made every possible mistake in waging the campaign. It accuses the army of acting contrary to its own military doctrine by supplying the enemy with resources through humanitarian aid, failing to impose time pressure, mismanaging resources, and ultimately exhausting its own forces while eroding international support. According to the document, Hamas, meanwhile, enjoyed all the conditions necessary to survive and claim success, including resources, secure territory, and a suitable method of fighting. In cities, it cites Aardvark Land's reliance on deterrence logic rather than decisive victory by seeking a ceasefire and hostage deal with Hamas, and incomplete in planning and distributing aid, which it says enabled the terror group to successfully mount a false starvation campaign. The report criticizes the they're even propagandizing their own IDF here now. But isn't that how it all works? The report criticizes the IDF for maneuvering repeatedly in the same areas at a slow pace. They didn't want to get blown up. Prioritizing to avoid casualties over mission success. Yeah, they didn't want to die. So, man. It also cites attrition, manpower strain, equipment fatigue, and poor preparation for guerrilla warfare as key reasons for failure. Channel 12 adds that officers who reviewed the document questioned whether the Army had drawn the necessary lessons ahead of its planned push into Gaza City. At the same time, the report notes that many within the military credit the operation with lowering Hamas's demands in hostage negotiations, while the added pressure reportedly increasing the number of captives the group was willing to release in the deal. Again. They have a policy called the Hannibal Doctrine. So to believe where they will shoot their own aardvarks to not be taken potentially hostage, you see, and to believe that they're genuine in their concerns about the hostages, if there are even any hostages, it's just insane, knowing these facts. And they've said as much as well. This was never even about the hostages. Bibi, Gavir, Smotrich, they've all said as much. Let's hear now about a report from the Cradle about the plan for what's going to happen once they ethnically cleanse Gaza. And it's insane. It's technocracy. Let's watch this short report.
The Washington Post got a hold of some documents that have apparently been making the rounds in the White House, and it calls for essentially, the complete ethnic cleansing of the Strip by force or by luring Palestinians away with promises of money to turn it into a AI-powered smart city of the future. This is the Donald Trump Middle East Riviera plan. The post-war plan includes confiscating all public land within Gaza, paying small amounts to remove the entire population, and building what the Washington Post describes as a gleaming tourism resort and high-tech manufacturing and technology hub. This is based on the plans already designed by the Boston Consulting Group, by a group of consultants within this US firm, but still it's the same names, it's the same actors behind the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, behind these aid traps where hundreds of Palestinians have been killed seeking aid, and it also has the involvement of Tony Blair. Because Tony Blair was in the White House just last week, meeting with Donald Trump and Jared Kushner, the architect of the Abraham Accords. Remember, the Tony Blair Institute, also behind the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, and also worked alongside the Boston Consulting Group for all of these plans. So now known as the Great Trust, so that stands for Gaza Reconstruction, Economic Acceleration and Transformation Trust. This would be what controls all of the funds, this city of the future above the mass grave that is Gaza. This trust will be controlled by Israeli and US investors.
That's where we're at. Smart city built on top of the mass grave that is Gaza, i.e. technocracy. Wow, man. Over the last 24 hours, 113 have been killed there on the Gaza Strip and 304 injured as the genocide continues. Almost 300 reported killed in Gaza in the last 3 days since global experts accuse aardvarks of genocide, and we covered that. That's CBS News. CBS News. UAE warns Trump that any aardvark annexation of the occupied West Bank would harm the Abraham Accords and undermine hopes of expanding them. And this was Trump's response. So there you have it. Yeah. So again, UAE acting like they care. They don't. They're just as corrupt as the rest of them. Here's Trump. He says, tell Hamas to immediately give back all 20 hostages, not 2 or 5 or 7, and things will change rapidly. It will end. Really? Really? So tell the intelligence agency to give back the hostages, even if there are any. If that's not all just made up. Aardvark line intensifies Gaza City attacks as UN warns of horrific consequences for displaced families. That's BBC. So, yeah, they're losing the propaganda war here big time now at this point. So that's all we have for today. It's quite horrific indeed there going on. Smart city technocracy built on the mass grave that is Gaza. What do you even say to that, man? Good news is at least Florida has some kind of sense, and at least, at least they're saying, hey, it's your choice. It's your choice there. So, pro-choice. A different kind of pro-choice in Florida. That is good, big news today. I don't know how they're going to explain that when all the children are perfectly fine in Florida, but it feels like things are changing there in public health as well. But still, we need accountability for all the wrongdoings that have gone on, or it will just continue to go on as we run headfirst into technocracy here now. All right, friends, that's all I got for today. Let's go to the channels quickly and see who's on the Odysee. Who do we have on the Odysee? We have Gur and John in Highland. Let's see here. Oh, John says the Reese Commission of the 1950s investigated the so-called charitable foundations and learned they were funding communists and other adversaries of the United States and fomenting wars. Yeah, it's kind of their thing. It's kind of their thing. And where's all that money for these private foundations coming from? Oh, the robber barons, the international banking cartel, the good capitalists, they tell us. There has been only one photo of Orange Man since rumors of his death had circulated. Yeah, I think that was all hype. Unless it's a clone drone robot guy wearing a mask today. John says on the Odysee, DC wasn't safe for Vince Foster. It sure wasn't. And many others as well. Well, thank you guys for tuning in on the Odysee. I appreciate it. Bitchute, thank you guys for tuning in on the Bitchute. They did upload one of the older shows, but man, Bitchute, and I did email them. I may email them again because too many shows are hung up over there on the Bitchute. But thank you everybody who is tuned in live now. The older shows need to be uploaded there. Some kind of bug in their system. And Rumble, thank you everybody for tuning in on Rumble. As always, we had a great chat there. They are already at Cognitive Cities. It knows more about us than we do. You can find them Googling C40 cities. You're welcome. Well, see, Karen's helping us to go and get a jump on everybody trying to get into the 15-minute smart cities here. Freedom cities, I believe. Trump wants to dub them. And so there's a hint about how you can get your place in your own digital prison before they're filled up. And who else do we got there? Kick, Facebook, Twitch, and YouTube. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. As always, everybody do your own research. Peace, love, and freedom. Speak out and take action. Have a great rest of your Wednesday evening. And we'll be back here tomorrow